Hello, everyone. Thank you for signing up and joining us this afternoon. Today, we have invited a very experienced and successful Financial Services Associate Director, William Lim. He's here to share with us his nuggets of wisdom on how to maximize your potential for recurring income. Before we get into that, I would like to share with you a little bit about PhillipCapital. Okay. So PhillipCapital has started as a stockbroking firm 45 years ago. However, we have since evolved over the years so that we can meet the needs and grow together with our customers. So beyond stockbroking, we are a one-stop financial house with global reach. Okay, so you can see over here, we are present in 15 countries. We also have a bank located in Cambodia, stockbroking firms in Turkey, Hong Kong, India, and more. As you can see on the slides, our clients can access over 26 stocks exchanges through our own Poyans platform. We partner with a lot of fund houses, insurance partners, and we also carry more than 40,000 financial products. This is to allow our specialists to have a wide range of services and products to do a holistic financial planning for their customers. Okay. PhillipCapital also have a network of offices across the globe. It means that our specialists and brokers are able to onboard clients globally and help them to open up different type of trading accounts digitally as well. Okay, so for my part, in summary, we have a total AUM of USD 35 billions worldwide and a shareholders fund in excess of USD 1.5 billion. This is the reason why over 1 million clients worldwide trust us with their money. As a specialist with PhillipCapital, the reputation of the company will be able to help you to gain clients' trust quickly. So we have come to the next part of the presentation where my colleague Joshua will be sharing a little bit more on the infrastructure and support PhillipCapital provides. So over to you, Joshua.
Sure. Thank you, Jasmine. Able to see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Okay. What's going to see? You see my entire slide, yeah?
Yes.
Okay,
can't see the entire slide. Sorry. It's a split screen.
Okay. Hi all, I'm Joshua. Okay. I'm from the talent acquisition team for PhillipCapital. So thank you, Jasmine, for actually introducing PhillipCapital. Okay, so today, what my part I'm going to share with you guys is, there are so many things to share with you on PhillipCapital. But then right now, what we like to touch on is actually, the infrastructure and the support that we actually have in PhillipCapital. Okay, so the kind of support that we have over here, we have actually built a CRM system, in fact, an ecosystem. Okay, to actually for the advisors to actually use. So how we do, in the normal conventional way of doing systems and funneling and all, right? We will usually start with leads. Okay, and then with these leads, we will actually try to close them. Okay. Sorry, are you not seeing my slides, right? Give me a moment.
The display setting.
Are you seeing my slides now?
Yes.
Okay, can. So sorry about this. Yeah. Okay. So so usually what we do in conventional way, we start with the leads. Then after with the marketing funnel, we go down to actually close them to become customers, and then eventually your clients, and then they become your promoters for your business. In PhillipCapital, okay, what we like to do is we like to go further up into this funnel, okay, and we like to start with strangers. Okay, because the universe is actually, the potential clients that you can actually onboard. Okay, what we want to do over here is from stranger, we bring them to become visitors to PhillipCapital. From that point onwards, and then this is where we start. Okay, now they become qualified leads that we want to, approach and engage them with. Okay, so how does this entire ecosystem do to actually help to our advisors? Okay, it actually serves 4 functions. Okay, the first function is actually, to attract them from a stranger to come and visit us. Second part is actually to convert them from a visitor to become, hey, actually, I like to know more. So actually they engage us. And then from there, we close them. And then from our clients, right, we do delight them, and then they become, the referrals and the promoters of our business. Okay, we don't stop there because they will help to promote your services to their network. Okay, so it becomes a cycle. So how do we actually attract strangers to visit us? Okay, we will be on board with social media engagements. Okay, as you can see over here. Okay, and then to add on with to the social media presence, we do regular webinars. Okay, market journals. Okay. Other than that, we also have programs like integrated financial health assessment tool to actually help engage potential clients to do a check on their current financial health. Okay. We also have this TTP page. Pardon me for the acronym, but TTP is actually a Talk to Phillip page that you saw just now. It looks like a digital name card, but more importantly, it is an online platform where advisors can get direct account opening, product order placement, and where customers can actually choose to go digital with our advisors. Okay, it's a unique page, where the engagement all goes direct to the advisor. Okay, so it's actually using companies' resources to actually direct traffic to our advisors' unique link. Okay. Other than that, we got other platforms and initiatives like Match Me, where because due to the wide spectrum of solutions that PhillipCapital hold, we can actually do internal matching of solutions where our customers actually need. Okay, to the different various advisors that we have as well. Okay. On top of that, the next stage, conversion. Okay, we have in place digital modules, be it face-to-face or be it online, like the Finance Feed and Talk to Phillip page, to actually help to convert a dead visitor to become, hey, actually I can know more about the offerings that you give. Okay, so what are the apps that we actually have to do, be it a closing, face-to-face or online? These will be the apps that we can actually have. Okay, other than that, okay, this will be the apps that actually keeps customers updated on their portfolio to carry out servicing function, which means the after sales care and servicing. But the key module over here is actually this one. Okay, the lead management module. It helps to gel everything that you see over here together. It helps our advisors to be guided and be aware of which part of their customers are in the entire funnel. It helps them to keep track of the individual leads, okay, and what to do at each different stage. Okay, it's a very powerful module because it helps advisors to be organized and focused. Okay, so it integrates everything together to give, more importantly, customers a very pleasant experience when dealing with our PhillipCapital advisor. Okay, but of course, all of this needs to have certain competency to actually carry out this experience. Okay, so that's why a training app is actually in place and incorporated, okay, to pick up relevant gaps in our advisors' delivery performance, and more importantly, it gives a targeted training in areas where our advisors or certain people are lacking in. It's not a blanket training for all advisors. It's actually a targeted training. Okay, so this actually helps to show. This will show all the apps that we actually, or the modules that we have developed throughout time to actually help our advisors to use accordingly. Okay, also for our advisors to engage their clients accordingly as well. So this entire ecosystem is to guide and give clarity to our advisors how to actually start off their business and then to guide them through the business as well. Okay, I think I've talked enough on this. Today, we have William with us today. He's a Financial Services Associate Director, as mentioned by Jasmine. Okay, but more importantly, he's one of the top performing leaders in PhillipCapital. Prior to joining PhillipCapital, he was actually with a foreign bank for 6 years. In total, he has 14 years of investing experience. Okay, he leads a team right now, Stewart Wealth, actually. Okay, he holds more than 400 families have entrusted their wealth with him, and then he has actually garnered more than 60 million, of investable assets with him. So without further ado, today William will be here to share with you what you want to know, how to maximize your potential for recurring income. So William, to you, please. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you so much. Okay, so let me share my screen. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Joshua. Okay, thank you everybody for attending today's webinar with us, and I hope to make it as fruitful as possible and more insightful. Feel free to keep your questions towards the Q&A section, and I'm sure you will have some burning questions. My pathway is a little bit different from most people. Later you will know why. My focus has been a lot more on the investment portion, okay? But before we jump right in, I think it's good to at least do a bit of self-introduction. Who am I, and why did I choose PhillipCapital? And then after I choose PhillipCapital, how's my journey with the company? And then of course, introduction to my team and the members and what we are doing, harnessing and tapping on PhillipCapital's platform at the same time. So without much ado, let's jump right in. Okay, so 2002, I was in Nanyang JC, and back then, I guess there were a lot more JCs back then, and now I think there's only a few more. So if I'm not mistaken, I think Nanyang is pretty good school right nowadays, if I'm not. But back then, I think my school was affiliated. So that was during my young days. I went on after that into combat engineers during my national service. During then, I was quite busy actively in the national service. After that, I came out. I went to the London School of Economics, but you can see on the right, I think nowadays they call it Singapore University of Social Sciences, our fourth university, right? So I was quite playful during my JC days. Couldn't enter the local uni, but that's what it is. So I studied econs and management. So still end up did well in uni, and I got myself exposed firstly into some form of businesses. So you can see on the left and right, I think if you are familiar with the local business scene, the two ladies are Dora and Doreen. So my mom used to do her business with Best World. I think their products are like Dr. Secret. I think the ladies, if there are ladies in our audiences, they will be quite familiar. So I was oftenly with my mom exposed to, at that point of time, network marketing, multi-level marketing. Didn't really fit my cup of tea. And back then also, after I graduated from econs and management, still not very clear exactly what I wanted to do, but something sparked me. And what was interesting, as you see the guy on the right, my mom signed up a course on Forex and paid about almost $3,000 plus, right? She brought back this blue color book, a very thick book with all the charts and candlesticks and all the trading methodology, so on and so forth. And that sparked my interest, right? So that got me onto it. That got me signing up brokerage accounts. That got me signing up for Forex accounts. And that started my interest basically into exploring trading stocks and so on and so forth. So that was back in 2009, right? So yeah, so if you're wondering what candlesticks are for some of you, basically I'm a finance geek. This kind of stuff basically gets me excited, right? So it was very interesting because, you know, back then, as you can see in the picture, it's awfully very interesting, right? So at age 28, you might be wondering, is it a glamorous banker lifestyle, or are you like a shark? Are you like a like a wolf on Wall Street? That's like what people think. But I guess it's a different thing. Back then it was really hustling on a month-to-month, really worked hard, and sometimes you really get pretty pressured in that sense, right? But of course the income was good, and you can see on my right, managed to buy your own convertible. It's so-called my little dream of back then. If you work so hard, you have to reward yourself. But there's a backstory to this picture. We'll go on to that, right? So in 2014, so after spending about 5 years in the bank, then one of the key things is, okay, every single month I've been running sales, right? And if you repeat this thing about 4 to 5 years out, sometimes it's a conflict of interest between running sales and serving your clients fiduciarily, right? So it's very much like if you were to be a principal of a secondary school, right? Sometimes versus, let's say, getting at the top quartile in terms of performance, let's say among all my other peers in terms of being a principal, what do? Right? It's sometimes a balance between giving a chance for students who are not doing so well, or forcing them to face the pressure and then therefore ostracizing some students. So I guess in similar fashion, this kind of trend also happens in the bank. So it's either you find a balance between striking a balance of serving the clients well, and also then making sure you hit your targets, right? But of course, that balance is not easily achieved. So basically, after 5 years, the next foot of thought to me was, hey, you know, as you can see, I've highlighted in the red, is that for me, the desire to work with others, to help and serve others, have all along been very, very strong, right? Because interesting factors during the days when I was in the bank, I always remember one of the key things that helped me and motivated me to go to office every day. And that was very important because I still briefly remembered back then, after joining the bank within 3 months, interestingly, I wanted to resign because you always thought you go to a bank, you will actually do a lot of investment, but that is not entirely true. Actually, our managers would actually pressure us a lot to sell bank assurance, which is basically savings and retirement policies, because the revenue is very big, right? So I can still really remember back then that I wanted to throw in the towel after 3 months, right? And then I had one of my senior. He was an Arab in descent, and he used to be a credit card officer. He climbed all his way up to be personal banker, then subsequently to my senior as a relationship manager in the privileged segmentation of the clients. And I always remember what he said to me that got me remaining the path of being in the bank. He said, "Hey, young dude, you study so much for what, right? You study so much, can't take a little bit of hardship." So he was outright to me, and that really set me back thinking, perhaps sometimes you have to have a bit of grit. You have grit as in like grit, and bare your teeth a little bit and go through the whole notion in order to really learn and experience from perseverance, right? So that got me, carry on. But what then got me to motivate me, aside to this, like what I just mentioned, that story, was the motivation to find the meaning and passion to serve others, right? So what became a very interesting story that got me down the notion even till today to serve others, is especially the clients from a fiduciary point of view, is I always remember, because my dad passed on in 2010. On the year that I actually finished training and went into the bank, he died because of colon cancer. And I had another client who then had a very similar situation. He was suffering from cancer and he was about to die. And I could relate it very well because I literally went through that not long ago with my dad. So that actually, got me very motivated in that point to handle the accounts well, because the client told me straight that I will pull you in with my wife because he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And for those out there, pancreatic cancer, the chances of survival is extremely low, right? So that became a very good reference point and benchmark as to how I actually conducted myself for the next 4 to 5 years in the bank. So what then, 2014, right? Where to next, right? So one of the key things was, if I were to leave the bank, a lot of my clients have become personal friends with me already. In fact, with some of my family. So one of the key focus was to look for a platform that had a long lineage of history, because that was important to me. I know how, if I put myself in the client's shoes, what's the key number one thing when they always look out for in terms of platform is stability, right? And I don't need to focus too much. Of course, back then, coming out from Lehman Brothers, I think people already have started to move on, right? But it's so relevant in today's term, right? We had a couple of bank failures, from Signature Bank to Silicon Valley to Credit Suisse, and then to First Republic, right? So the reputation of the institution that I joined was to me, of utmost importance, right? So then back then, Phillip is already going to be 48 years already, right? But back then it was about 40 years or so. So to me, that was very attractive, and I started exploring. Of course, aside to that, I've explored almost a total of 5 other financial advisory firms before I decided to go on it. So what's important, as like what Joshua and Jasmine has mentioned earlier, it was important to me because joining the right platform with a long history. And so Phillip was actually founded back in 1975. And right now, collectively, we're managing more than US 35 billion, which then comes out to be about 49 billion Sing dollars. Right, so that was very important to me to find a platform that can enable me to carry on my business. Right, so one of the key important things when I was looking through the platform was to basically look for different kind of asset classes, right? And that's important because the more wide the level of asset classes there is within the platform, then if I think a little bit longer in terms of the sustainability of my business, because the moment I left the bank, I'm really striking out on my own as a business perspective, right? The last thing you want to do is you jump from one company a few years and then later you jump to another company. As you know, there are such things as you would heard of teams jumping from X company to A company to B company. Well, I mean, obviously, most of the time the clients will believe what the advisors will say, but I don't take too kindly to this. To me, I think stability is very important because the client will have to go through a lot of trouble to change accounts and so on and so forth. And I don't think it's very good for continuity. So as you can see, what I put together in terms of this table when I was going through my thought process, as you can see, if you talk about like treasury bills, I think a lot of you are now familiar, especially with interest rates so high right now. You can see Phillip has our own instrument called money market that we can actually have access to such things, right? If you talk about insurance plans, we almost deal with every single insurer except for Great Eastern and Prudential. When we talk about bonds, so I used to do like straight up bonds, company bonds on our end. We also could do. Phillip could do that. So you talk about index funds, unit trust, and even let's say talking about robo advisors, Phillip platform also could do that, right? And for shares. In fact, I think Phillip was known more famously as one of the local brokers that was first established in 1993 or 4, I can't remember, but this is our star product, which is called Poems. And then of course, you'll be surprised, we have actually our own in-house fund management company, licensed fund management company, which is rare because if you do study fund management, to have a licensed fund management license and not a registered fund management license can be accrued to almost any other hedge fund that manage 250. For you to have a licensed fund management to sell unit trust to the retail customers, you need to show you have managed in excess of 1 billion Sing dollars. So PhillipCapital Management is our fund management arm. You'll be even surprised that when you talk about real estate, we have our CKS Property Consultants Private Limited. You want to talk about corporate financing, IFS Capital, Phillip Credit is also part of the PhillipCapital branding. And then if you're talking about hedge funds, we do bring on accredited investor funds or hedge funds in this case through our Phillip Affluent Markets segmentation. Our Phillip Private Equity was also part of the PR scheme back almost 10 years ago, where they allowed foreign individuals to invest into a couple of private equities. We were one of those firms, one of those 5 firms that was being accrued the prestige of running this. We also have our Poems Ventures, our Phillip Nova, which cover derivatives, and obviously the last portion, digital assets. Unfortunately, we are not, because as of now, MAS does not regulate digital assets, right? So this was very important because back, searching not just for long lineage, not in terms of years, this was also important. You want to go through the whole spectrum and realize that, hey, you are in the right place and therefore you can go the long mile. I think that was very crucial to me. Okay, so then the next thing that came to mind was regular investment updates. So that was what attracted me to it, because as you can see, there are a lot of seminars. Almost sometimes you can find 2 to 3 seminars in a day. So that was important because that was my passion back then, right? I wanted to have another platform to basically go that I can move on to somewhere where I can learn. And then after that, where a platform that they can allow the clients to learn in terms of financial literacy also, right? So 2014, I made up my mind already. It was very clear. So I left the bank, and you realize I post the same photo because back then that was my girlfriend. So I then told her, hey, you know what? I'm going to quit the bank already. My lifestyle would definitely have to be downgraded. And one good advice, right? I mean, ultimately it was, you know what, if you fail, you can always go back to the bank, right? The bank is never short on hiring salesmen in order to comb through their portfolio of clients. So, you know what? I went on, I took the faith of jumping and starting on my new business, and I sold my car in order to start from ground zero, right? So, as you can see for your reference, so my focus was on AUM. AUM in simple terms is assets under management. Basically, it measures the amount of money that you managed from ground up. So basically how we earn from this is we take a percentage cut of that. So in simple reference, if without complicating, right? So if let's say you manage $1 million, that will then, based on 1%, assuming that is your net revenue, your bring home revenue for that year based on managing 1 million will be at about $10,000. Yeah. So if you break down $10,000 to a month, that will come up to be about 800 Sing dollars, just to give some reference to all our audiences down here, right? So I left the bank back in about April. And then I managed to get my licensing in the mid of 2014. And of course, one of the side perks of still being in the firm, back in the banks, we also go for overseas trip. So back in Phillip also, we also have our incentives trip. So I think I was very lucky with the support of my clients. Within barely 6 months into joining the organization, we went on our first flying, we call it flying start over here to Taiwan. I think this was Ruye Tan of Sun Moon Lake, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I started with 0 back then. And then I ended the year at about 6.5 million in terms of assets under management. So basically, like what I say, thanks to my clients, so we managed to clinch best newcomer for the year within less than a year. And then, of course, I proceeded to propose to my girlfriend back then, right? So 2015 was also a very busy year. So you can see it wasn't it was very busy because I was busy maneuvering my clients out from the place and still treading with caution, because at the end of the day, when you leave the bank, we also do have to respect our so-called 6 months non-compete clause. So continue to work hard, and then at the end of 2015, I had to do my Malaysian side of the wedding. Yeah, because my wife was Malaysian. So in 2015 November, we had our incentive flying start trip to Bali. So 2016, basically got married in Singapore, registered officially. So my AUM grew from basically 10 to 14.4. And then I was expecting my first child. So it was very, very busy period for me, right? So that was my previous director. So continue to work hard, and then basically in 2017, my first girl was born in August. Yep. So my AUM then grew to 21, right? So interestingly, so I continue to so-called hone onto my strategy, my investment strategy, my track record. And I think the whole point of me showing here also to the audience is that you can grow your family through a platform if you choose properly and you choose to work hard and smart, right? So what's interesting is, yeah, it started from being attached to getting married to having the first child. So flying start in 2017, went to Japan. Then, of course, had a bit of foray into recruitment, but did not really focus on it then. But you can see back then, all along the company has been very supportive, and this was in Suntec in 2017. So I went to just experience with some of our seniors down here, right? And then continue to embark on learning in 2018, continue to take certs, continue to upgrade myself in terms of planning tools, investment tools for my customers, right? 2018, we went to Korea. So you can see gradually my AUM has actually increased to 30 million, right? And then 2019, continue to work hard. So focus still on the investment side of stuff, and also try to be more active in terms of like like FIPA has this annual financial planning award. So I think the first time was in 2018 and the response wasn't so good. So in 2019, they really went out and really try to promote this award, right? So I was like, okay, you know what? Challenge myself, although I'm not very strong on the insurance side of things, but still managed to clinch the final finalist. So I think it was a very good experience. What a good platform can push you to do, right? So then I started to become a lot better in terms of, let's say, going out, giving talks, right? So back then in 2018, coming in 2019, it was a trade war. So we did our seminars back then. Phillip then gave us a very good platform, right? So it gave us a good venue to host our seminars, also allowing myself to be featured on the Straits Times. So all these things are very good because when you do marketing on your own as a startup, you know it will cost a lot of money. And I think that's the crucial part, right? But trust me, this is the tip of the iceberg. As I go later to the slides, will start to understand the kind of resources joining the right platform like Phillip would give you, right? So why I'm showing all this, because I also want to show you the evolution of Phillip Wealth Advisory through time also, because that's also extremely important, right? So let me carry on. So over here, this was in 2019. So we expected our second girl, and I continue to participate as much as I can to uplift my social profile on my own. And this World Financial Planning Day was also not entirely on my own too. This was also promoted by Phillip, because Phillip was one of the sponsors for the event also at the time, and they actually needed a speaker to assist with being one of the so-called featured speakers back then, right? Then 2019, that was right before COVID hit us in 2020. So if you still remember, we traveled to China in 2019, and then this was our yearly award in 2020, right? So then what happens was interesting. So COVID hit us, and basically it was a work from home thing, right? So whether as an individual, as a platform, we all struggle with one thing, right? Essentially is how do we continue our business without having to be handicapped by the fact that we can't leave our home, right? So you can see how the Singapore Budget 2020, and they gave us a platform where we could also use the Phillip branding to actually have a say on basically some of the budget policies that were being put forth, right? So at least we still remain high touch with our clients through social media, which was crucial to continuing to brand ourselves in that way, that we're still relevant and we can still continue to suss out businesses opportunities out there despite the very challenging environment in COVID, right? So back then I had my first recruit. Yep. And okay, so this is very important, right? So I choose PhillipCapital. This, you may just see it as, oh, okay, just one of those regular stuff to show. But think about those people who join our platform, right? And for them, it became a very important part whereby to justify to their clients why they are moving forth, this really allows the individual advisors to not basically having to figure out their own artwork, pay their own money, advertise it out there. We're all doing through PhillipCapital's platform, right? So the team from marketing even came down to my place, shot a very interesting video with my girls, my two girls here, calls it Copy with William. So basically, how do I balance running a business together with family at the same time, right? And then the company also recognizes us for top awards, and they also publish on our Facebook page. So this really helps a lot. Once again, that we're not just selling ourselves, doing our own marketing materials. This is based off what the company recognize and then publish on their own social media site. Yeah. So these are some examples, right? So you can see how the evolution starts to happen. Then you can see more social media outreach, whether is it through awards that I've won, why I joined PhillipCapital, why I'm growing my team, how to grow the team, even things like career webinars, right? So you can see back in 2021, even today, what you're attending is also through the hard work of our recruitment team, which is today Joshua and Jasmine and the rest of their colleagues. Back in 2021, we already have such practices. And then you'll realize that even from 2 years back, we started to have investment outlook, whereby we are featured on radio stations like 96.3 Hao FM and 95.8, right? So those were very important portions because it gives a lot of ability for us to raise our social profile, like what I mentioned earlier, right? So as you can see, the team expanded from Hongwei basically to another 5 more people within the team, right? So, and then what's interesting is you can see as we go and the team grew, you can see how the team then leverage on their online presence, on the marketing that is done forth by the company. So this is not a 96.3 or 96.8. This is a Money Never Sleep or Let the Money Talk series, which is a podcast talking about various investment topics, like, for example, Claire did why is asset allocation important for you and me, and Hongwei then did 3 ways to navigating volatile markets in 2022. And I think these are very important because if you still remember very strongly, 2022 was an extremely difficult time for investments, right? Where bonds and equities are typically down anywhere between 15 to 25% at the trough level, at the bottom level. So having such series and podcasts and then publish to your clients was extremely important. It gives a sense of hand-holding, a sense of we're on top of things. So you can see we continue to have different engagements. So we have a podcast where it's a video recording. We also have video podcasts where we talk about, is recession just around the corner? Yeah, so different teams, and then we continue to grow the team at the same time. Yeah, so you can see different team members having different exposures throughout different periods of the entire year, right? So what we also basically do, we also do cross departments collaboration. So Phillip Managed Accounts is a discretionary portfolio management. We also then assist and collaborate to actually bring up webinars like navigating the bear markets for last year, right? So the good thing about Phillip is, despite us being such a big platform managing 35 billion, having so many offices across the world, we can easily work with a flat hierarchical structure across different departments, right? So that allows us to basically have even like a fireside place where you can see we can have 3 speakers talking about how do you plan your finances for a recession, right? And what's interesting, you can see all these are various areas that basically allow right on the right platform, allow us to have an edge over our competition in terms of getting our financial literacy articles out, whether is it through the Taobao or through the Age or through Money FM. These are all very crucial points to put across, right? So in 2022, we last year finally continued our first trip since the lockdown to Perth. Yeah, so as you can see, was a big group going, and my youngest girl back then, who was a baby, already grew up already. So you can see, yeah, that was her. You can see the little botak head, and then yeah, and then she's here already. Yeah, big girl already. Yeah, so this was in Perth, and that's my mother. All right, so this is my current team now in Steward Wealth. And what then basically we had our academy. So basically we launched our training academy, and then we basically did a very intensive 9-session training where we have our senior trainer Shen Hao over here, and then myself covering the curriculum on the planning side, and onto the investment side of things also. So we continue to do corporate employee benefits, and these are very important because these are real value add that, given that with the expertise of the team and coupled with the fact that we can actually have such outreach, we can actually gather more leads in this case also, right? So team building is also very important. I think those are one of the few key things that we try to keep the team together as we foster as what we call a second family. So continue to have investment publications. On the left is Straits Times, on the right is the Age magazine. And then every year we recognize good achievement through our Flying Start Awards dinner. Then, for example, some of the other leads generation include roadshow. So in this year, we did our Suntec roadshow. Also a very interesting experience because in our platform, we can do bonds. You'll be surprised with the right bond, the platform, with the right team, we can actually bring on pretty high net worth clients even through a roadshow. Yeah. So the roadshow was for 1 whole week. And the team continued to have exposure to 96.3this year. And then we have collaboration with our discretionary portfolio management side, understanding the dynamics of fixed income in your portfolio, right? And that was important because with the Credit Suisse failure, with all the bank failures, there was a very important time for us to let our clienteles and our prospects and our future clients understand a little bit more. So you can see we even have financial literacy with Diamond High in this case, where they came down to our Phillip office and we gave a talk, brought them around to the office. We even have like media collaboration. So one of our team members have an active collaboration with a yacht. So we are also exploring different ways where we can actually collaborate with certain prestigious publications and potentially have some collaboration with some high net worth individuals in this case, right? So one of the key differences in terms of website per se, just now Joshua mentioned we have our personalized web page, right? So this was important because wealth advisory over here gives us this advantage where we can actually set up our own website, our own micro site per se, right? So over here, what's interesting is the clients or anybody who have your not just your URL, if they go to Phillip, they go in Google, they type Phillip and type William, you will be directed to our microsite. So we'll show you what license we have. Aside to that, any client testimonial and some about me, what are your awards that you have won and achievements. Those are extremely important things, especially from a company's perspective. It's not just about what we have to say about ourselves. These are endorsed by the company. So these are things that tapping on PhillipCapital's platform without having to figure this out by ourselves saves us a lot of time and resources, so we can focus on where the real planning is, which is ultimately to spend time with the client and do up their portfolio, right? So one of the key things on our end, in terms from a team perspective, we focus on quarterly client events. So lately, we talk about 4% interest rate. So this was not long ago, earlier in just about 2 weeks back, we talked about 4% interest rates. Is it here to stay? In fact, we're going to do another replay on the 8th of June, right? So these are the kind of things that we do on a team basis that helps to value add to our own clientele in that case, right? And then not just that, we also have client campaigns. So right now, given banks and MS Treasury bills are doing close to 4%, you'll be surprised. Our own access funds management facility, we call it Smart Park, we are also accruing 4% at a very extremely low level of risk for the clients' funds that are parked with Phillip, right? So even when it comes to, let's say, today's event, as you can see down here, this is a very important thing to note, right? Because once you can see the lineage of me joining the platform since 2014 till now, come a time where basically you're ready to grow your team, the company and the team will give you the necessary resources and tools to continue to also grow your business in this case, right? So this is basically the team right now, right? So what's interesting, as you can see, I'm not just heading the team, I'm also a dual license as a portfolio manager, right? So that is the fantastic part about our Phillip platform. So later I'll talk about that because this is important. I would say maybe no other advisory firm allows our advisors to actually have dual license or even triple license, whether it's a portfolio manager, a financial advisor, or at the same time, a trading representative, or otherwise known as a broker in this case, right? So the Steward platform is quite interesting because And what's unique to our own team is that we then basically have different components for different things. Of course, under our Steward Wealth umbrella, there's the Steward Investment, which then I'll touch on later, which is then covering our own in-house core portfolio, which is managed by me as the portfolio manager. And then at the same time, we have our Steward Academy, which is then basically covering very intensive training for anybody who is coming on board, even for existing advisors as a refresher, right? Because this is important. We don't downplay this part, because when you bring, especially for those experienced advisors in the audience right now, you know, at the end of the day, the last thing you want is for another advisor out there to be talking to your client and tearing down your proposition, because I experienced that with a multi-family office, right? And it doesn't feel good, because if you don't know your stuff and you have your proposition tear down, it really shows that either number one, you really don't bother to upgrade yourself. Number two, you just don't have the right platform or the right team or the right knowledge to put forth improvements onto your so-called value proposition to your customers. So down here, we have our unique STAR system, which is an analysis report we do up for our client, a very detailed report that will assist the client to know, like for example, a compass in their retirement plans, in their own planning. So this is very crucial, right? And I realize that most people in our line end up doing sales without really very objectively assisting the client mathematically and very holistically achieving their goals. There's no way to litmus test on that, whether the advisor really assists the client to achieve their goals. In this case, we measure that through our STAR, our own proprietary analysis report, right? And in exchange for that, any advisors that come on board our team, we practice on a weekly basis what we call a breakfast club, where we basically do a lot of role play. We share our actual case studies with our clients, and then basically assist the rest of the team to pick up all these skills through actual role playing, where we get our existing team to basically play the client, or then swap it over and play the advisor. So we then give very difficult kind of case scenarios where we really practice what is being thrown out there, rather than, you know, get our advisors out there and then get the gang or get very difficult questions by their clients and not being able to answer that, because as we know, time is money. And then lastly, we have our Steward Assurance, where we really focus on doing financial literacy. We also focus on comparing insurance plans and assist our advisors and our team to basically save the time on that notion of things. Right. So other things, for example, like branding and marketing. So for example, your LinkedIn, our own Steward Wealth website and YouTube. I think these are all very important to set forth a separate branding identity. We also have our own Spotify channel, our YouTube channel over here. And then just now I've showed you what's also interesting is if we want to talk about PhillipCapital's platform, there are plenty of events and seminars that's ongoing. And you must be wondering, why is there so many? Because don't underestimate PhillipCapital. We are not a small firm. We have our own Phillip research cell. So they put forth very detailed analytical reports and webinars and seminars on individual companies, calls, and even sectors also. So those are one of those things that I think it is worth mentioning to the audiences down here, right? So Phillip's and Steward Advantage is, as you can see on the left, these are Phillip in-house new advisors training. On the right, we have our own Steward Wealth training at the same time. On the left, you have different platforms that we use in terms of technology with Phillip, and on the right is what's unique to Steward Wealth in this case, right? So I think one of the key things down here is that we then focus on a couple of things on the daily routines, whether is it self-motivation, personal reflection, that goes on through our breakfast club, and then client engagement, administration, personal development. All these are all blended together within our platform, right? So then comes down to, after you're onboarded, you have clients, our Phillip platform also allows things like we do plan our client appreciation event. So these are important things that I think is very key things to note. So maybe I'll just touch a little bit. Since I'm licensed as a portfolio manager, so I run both the call and dividend portfolio. So basically what we do is combine Phillip Securities in-house investment view, then coupled with our model portfolio, our proprietary dynamic asset allocation, and our index fund ETF selector to come forth with what we call a unique proprietary system where we rebalance. As you can see, market was challenging, but we managed to identify basically high points in the markets, and the green ones are where we rebalance into the market. So this is our track record, and I think it's important just to showcase a little bit of what we do. So we've been beating the benchmark very consistently since 2015 versus a 60% MSCI World, 40% Vanguard, right? So in simple terms, in summary, the benchmark would have returned an annualized 5.42%, while our core portfolio had did 8.71%. And I think this is important, right? Because if the client's investing for the long run, to have a more consistent risk-adjusted returns is extremely important, right? So on a graphical perspective, you can see down here, I think this is important, joining the right team to grow the AUM. That's why I focus on showcasing the AUM growth through the years that I was serving in Phillip. You can see what we try to do is to have less pick and throws over here. And then from this chart, you can see it's a lot easier to explain to client why for planning for retirement, you can go very risk-free on low risk instruments like cash, special account, ordinary account, but you cannot beat in terms of a risk-adjusted portfolio of equities and bonds over the long run. So I think that's important to showcase, right? So ours is the core portfolio on the top. So what do you expect, right? So at least you join us. I think the most important, what matters to you besides our team growth, is for you to at least hit MDRT. And right now, the COM is about 72,000. We expect nothing short of that because, as you know, fresh grad nowadays earn easily starting $3,000 to $4,000 worth of monthly income. If you do the math, that's about almost 30,000 to 40,000 a year. We don't expect people to join us, and we can't value add to them in that sense, because then you're better off taking out an employed job out there. So that's one of those things to expect. So I think one of the key things, maybe I'll just fast forward down here. Maybe I'll just skip some of this part. Okay, so the brilliant thing, maybe just show a little bit about what our platform is you can see we are really a multi-product platform. You want to talk about stocks and shares, ETFs, contracts for difference, bonds, margins, money market fund, life insurance, general insurance, endowment, investment linked policy. The list goes on and on. We can cover whether is it transactional, whether it's through an advisory fee, or whether it's totally discretionary on our end, where they just pay us a management fee, right? So then I've just now mentioned there are 3 licenses that you can basically take on depending on where your inclination is, right? And one of the key things is you can be a trading representative, which is basically buy and sell shares for the client. Very transactional. You can be advisory, where you are a financial advisory consultant through holistic financial planning. Or you can manage the clients through a discretionary service, as myself is. So basically what I'm holding is these 2 licenses, the FA and FM license. So as you can see down here, the power lies in you not just can have active income through transactional, whether through advisory and through discretionary, it starts focusing on a recurring income basis. So this is important because this is one good case study. You can see this is an actual case study where basically this person used to be a trading representative, and you can see this portion of the gray part of the income are active income, whereby he has to do transactions in order to bring in that level of income. So you can see the moment he took a double license and it becomes a FATR, which is Financial Advisors Trading Rep, straight away, it allows him to then build on a layer of passive income. So that's important because effectively, how do you build your business over time that allows you to then work smart? I wouldn't say work less, because as you earn more, chances is you will just work harder because you get more motivated. But the difference is, for example, if we use property agents, for example, a lot of their income are very active income, unless they build a very large team, but still it is very active income. It is unlike ours, where money then becomes very sticky with us, and as long as your track record is there, the client don't really have an inclination or push factor to move their assets away from you. This is also another good example. On 27, he actually made a major decision, and you can see over time, almost 70% of his income of 33,538 per month comes from passive income, while active income is only estimated to be about 30%, right? So the great thing is, once you're on the right platform, given with the proper branding that you can do online, coupled with the right team, the right mentorship, the right learning, and training and ongoing. And as you know, if you want to do recurring income, investment is a very big portion of the business, right? And as you know, investments, you cannot be static in that case, right? In this last 6 months, we have saw multiple bank failures. We have saw Credit Suisse fail. I think these are very important parts as to how do we address the client's concerns. So joining the right team is very crucial, aside to also joining the right platform. Right, so infrastructure and support, I think this is also important. As you can see, Phillip is the only financial advisor firm that has multiple branches throughout Singapore, right? So this is important because I can only say maybe the banks have multiple branches, but Phillip is the only financial advisor firm that has multiple branches across. So these are interesting because there are always chances where you can actually explore having a satellite office together as a team, because that can potentially be a permanent fixture. So if you go around Singapore, you actually realize we do have a couple of Phillip Investor Center throughout Singapore in this case, right? So this is a key stand away and difference that we have versus our competition out there, right? In terms of lead generation, even within, so as you know, Phillip is known as a brokerage, a very famous brokerage, and our brokerage system is called POEMs, right? And we have a lot of trading representatives that hold single license in this case. So what the company has done is built a very good lead generation tool called MatchMe. So basically, what we do is we match the trading advisory representatives together with the financial advisory representative to see how we can collaborate and cross-sell wealth products to the trading TR partners client base in this case, right? So this will still keep the client sticky to us, where they can focus on, let's say, the stock. If let's say they need to go for stock trades, they can still rely on the TR's professionalism on that case and rely on the other components where we are stronger on the planning side of things, right? Aside to that, Joshua mentioned earlier our CRM model, our customer relationship management system. These are extremely important. So when we run campaigns, we know who to target to. We know from our system which client holds a lot of cash and has not done anything much to their cash in that case, and then we can reach out to them, right? Aside to that, we also have our mobile app, so client can easily access their portfolios online, right? So these are crucial. I believe we already have POEMs 3.0. So we keep improving as a system. So we also recently, just on the 20th of May, over the weekend, revamped our Phillip My Wealth launch, right? So we're very proud to bring this forth to the platform. Okay, so I'm going to end the session and go on to answer any of your questions. But like what I say, I dare you guys to join the Red platform, because as you can see, the sky is the limit as to how much you want to push yourself over here. We have so many things you can do. It's just whether or not you can harness and join the right team and have the right focus to really grow yourself. So even as I speak, you can see there's so many campaigns that have been running ongoing for the entire platform as we keep on going, and we're still even exploring newer ways to basically push forth some of this social media marketing and outreach out there. Yeah. So I'll stop sharing screen. Maybe I'll throw it back to Joshua. Yeah.
Leave it. Okay. Thanks. Thank you, William, for your in-depth sharing. Yeah. I think you've caught the attention of our audience here today. More so in the aspect, as I see from the questions, more so in the aspect of investments. Okay. So we have, I think we can only answer maybe 2 or 3 questions. Sorry, due to the limit of time over here. But I see the questions are actually revolving around investments. So how many? The first question. Okay, how many papers? Okay, does the audience here have to take in order to become an investment manager? Okay, maybe I could take that question. Okay, so to answer this question, as an investment manager, there are different types of investments. Okay, so the simplest way to actually become or to actually be able to help your network or your clients to actually invest is 3 papers. Okay, in short, the simplest way, 3 papers. So with these 3 papers, you're able to kickstart your investment career here in Phillip. But of course, in order to give your clients a more comprehensive and better advice in terms of their investments, right? You might need, or you will need, to actually add on to those papers to actually be involved in more activities and more product offerings for your clients as well. So in simplicity, 3 to start, and after that, you need to actually enhance your offerings to your clients thereabouts. Okay, so maybe the other question I can pick up is William, how can your team help to build, if anyone were to join your team, right, to build their that's what you mentioned just now, their asset under management, their AUM business?
Okay, very good question. Okay, so we already encounter a couple of advisors that jump ship from existing teams and competitors out there. And I share as candidly as important. I think that's important because at the end of the day, I know I was a bit long-winded, so apologies on that part, but that was important because let me be very blunt here. You put yourself in the client's point of view, and how do you then build your AUM? AUM is not just built based on a replicable model. Okay, that's number one. So in that case, we do provide slides, we provide training, so it's replicable in that sense, it's scalable in that sense. We provide even a model portfolio, which is our core portfolio, but that's still not enough. So what we basically do on a weekly training in our Breakfast Club is basically to do case studies to cover not just how do we role play and present the case to the client. We also role play very difficult questions. So I give you some examples. Recently, Credit Suisse failed, right? So Credit Suisse has a AT1 bond, additional tier 1 bond. And a lot of advisors are, if simple terms like this, and a client or potential prospect ask you, hey, William, or hey, Christine, or hey, Shenhao, what's your take on Credit Suisse additional tier 1? Then is UOB Perpetual that was issued in January this year also a AT1 bond, therefore risky in that sense? Your answer, how you answer between customer, I'll get back to you, or Mr. Tan, I'll get back to you later, makes a whole world of difference. So building AUM is not just from a point of knowing the right thing to say, going out with the right system to sell, taking the right strategy to sell. Is also how to build confidence through our weekly training. That is so crucial because effectively that's going to answer your question. Building capabilities, building savviness is not okay, I read this thing, my manager sent me or my director sent me, it solves the problem. I can tell you, but from my experience running a team, it involves a lot of throwing it back to the advisor and role-playing with them to really get them to have that perspective of, okay, given today's topic, or let's say we talk about today's relevant topic, if a client were to ask you, hey, William, I've got a couple $100,000, but MAS bills are giving me 4%. What's your take? Should I be going to MAS bills first? Because if it's still going to give me 4% for the next 2 years, why should I be investing my money and take on any risk? Questions like this are so crucial, right? So what we do as a team is we find articles out there. We come together through our experience, through my experience, also through the banks, what the banks sell to their clients in terms of structured products, their bonds, and we bring back to the drawing block over here and then give a form of actual role play, actual questioning, where we then become very difficult clients, and then we role play with our advisors on that point. So I think that comes down to once your level of savviness and proficiency is there, then I don't think it's a problem about building AUM really. Building AUM is always a combination of two things, right? I think it's number one, working smart, which is definitely your proficiency, and then scalability, which is whether you have a replicable strategy and track record. Number two, then is activities with the customers, which I have no doubt for existing advisors down there that within our audience, you already have what it takes. Yeah, I hope I did answer your question quite holistically.
Yeah, thank you. I think you gave a very practical example as well to answer that. Okay. Sorry, we can only answer one last question. So maybe I'll just choose this. Because your proposition, everything, harness or revolves mainly around investment and all. So what kind of profile will be good or suitable to join your team if the audience here were to be interested?
Okay, I think one of the key things is we are really looking for full-timers, right? I know sometimes, like I say, I don't mind being a little bit blunt down here. I don't think there's a right profile per se in terms of age or gender, because I don't think it really matters so much. I think it's more of the attitude. At the end of the day, although being self-employed gives you the freedom to choose your time, your commitments, but at the end of the day, to me, I see it more as an empowerment to do well for you, for yourself, and for your family. I think, to me, I want individuals who are really thinking from a client's perspective in the first place. Put yourself in the shoes of a client. At the end of the day, you want to make sure that you can help your clients achieve the right planning goals, the right retirement goals, the right investment goals. And I think that's important, because if at the end of the day, as a team, as a management team, and the right platform, whether is it Stuart or Phillip, we can guide you. We also need a willing advisor that is willing to listen, willing to learn, and willing to push their boundaries. Like what I mentioned earlier, you can see what Phillip and Stuart's platform can provide is a lot of things. But whether or not you are up to that game is a different thing altogether. So we are very willing to teach. We are very willing to provide. I think the next question is, are you willing to up your game to the next level? Yeah. So I don't think I will want to focus too much on the age or the gender, but I think it's more of the time that is being committed to the business. That to me is very important, because at the end of the day, where you put your time is essentially where you will harness the most outcome from. Yeah.
Thank you for your valuable sharing today, William. Unfortunately, time is short and we have overrun slightly. Thank you. All our kind audience have been staying throughout the entire session. If you think that you want to know more about this, feel free to reach out to William. Just now you saw his contact, or as you can see over here, you can also feel free to reach out either to William, to myself, or Jasmine. Okay, drop us or any inquiry you like to. Okay, and then I'm so sorry for those questions that we are not able to answer everything today. We will reach out to you to actually answer your questions, the technical ones, and also or feel free to reach out to us. Then we can actually get back to you ASAP as well. Okay, so with that, thank you so much, William, for sharing, and thank you, Jasmine, for hosting. Yeah, with that, we wrap up today's session, and we'll see you soon as well. Okay, thank you so much, audience. Thank you. See you.
Thank you.